Hey everyone, so I saw The Big Short yesterday, and The Big Short follows four citizens played by Christian Bale, Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, and Brad Pitt, as they basically foresee the 2008 financial crisis that happened in the United States of America. And I thought originally that it was them trying to basically just scam the United States, but what it actually is about is them trying to warn the United States, but at the same time trying to make money off of it. And without spoiling anything, it is a very interesting story. Right from the beginning, you can tell that this really isn't something that's been done before. I mean, when most people think of stocks and whatnot, you think of The Wolf of Wall Street, which came out 2 years ago, but it's not like that film at all because it is breaking the fourth wall constantly. The fourth wall, for those of you that don't know, the fourth wall is basically when a character in a film looks at the camera and basically acknowledges the audience. It's something you don't see too often, but I think one of the greatest examples I can think of off the top of my head would be A Christmas Story with Ralphie during about the halfway point of that film. But anyways, Adam McKay, who directed this film, he's famous for films such as Anchorman 1 and 2, Step Brothers, and The Other Guys. And he's for mainstream audiences. A lot of people enjoy his work. I think his films are just kind of like okay. So I was surprised that his directing, although not perfect, I was surprised by his choice with the breaking the fourth wall because it made the film very interesting. It was sprinkled throughout. It wasn't overdone. And on top of that, he sprinkled comedy. And comedy for this type of film is interesting because you're dealing with money, and in that environment, people are always stressed out. So comedy is definitely something that, when interjected into that, makes it even more interesting and breaks up the seriousness, because this is serious as well. And the cast is amazing. Christian Bale, I wouldn't be surprised if he got nominated for an Oscar here, because he isn't really likable in this film. He's just that guy that really isn't social, but he has like a lot of money. Think of it as like a Mark Zuckerberg that's a little bit older, and you'll get a general feeling of it. But no, this film has like a lot of things that I liked, and I liked the music choices that they had. I really, really liked the production design of this film. It really made it seem like this film did come out back in 2008, 2007, 2006 when the film takes place. But with that all in mind, I did have some problems with the film. I mean, I talked about Adam McKay, how he did surprise me with his directing. However, I do think he messed up in terms of how to film this movie. Sure, he wasn't the cinematographer, but he and the cinematographer talk when making the film, and what he decided to do was film it documentary style, but at the same time, film it as if it's like a bird-eye view, meaning that someone's just like watching people, and it just didn't really work. Like, it wasn't balanced. And the documentary style of filmmaking, I get that they were trying for the realism aspect, but it didn't work for the film because there aren't too many films that have documentary style filmmaking that do work. If Paul Greengrass had directed this film, it probably would have been good because it would have been throughout, but it felt very uneven in that aspect. And that leads me to the pacing of this film. This is yet another film in which there are a lot of interesting aspects, but then as soon as they get halfway into the movie, you are kind of like running out of steam. It's as if the filmmakers kind of ran out of steam too, and they're like, I don't know what to do. But then they get to the final act, and then they figure out their stride, and then the final act's good. And that's the same thing with this film. But I can't be too hard on it because Ryan Gosling's character does acknowledge it in the beginning of the film, like around the 30-minute marker, because he does turn the camera, and he's like, this is probably all uninteresting to you. But that is to be expected because it's about stocks. And then he continues talking. And so I can appreciate that, but at the same time, I do have to take off points for the pacing, the tone, and of course, the cinematography. But nonetheless, this is a solid 4 out of 5 star movie for those that like a letter grade, a B-. So I would say check it out. It's not the best film that's in theaters, but it is worth a watch. And for those of you that are curious, I'm going to be reviewing The Revenant, seeing it Thursday night. Probably review will be up Friday. And then my best films of 2015 list, it will be up probably by Saturday. So check that as well. And guys, thank you very much for watching. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button.